Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Vaughn DeCoster. Dr. DeCoster received a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the University of Arkansas, a Master's of Clinical Social Work from Tulane University, and a Doctor of Philosophy and Sociology from Louisiana State University. He has over 19 years of clinical experience in type 2 diabetes, behavioral medicine, and public health. He has worked with the Centers for Disease Control, both Arkansas and Tennessee Departments of Health, and just finished a third term as chair of the Arkansas Diabetes Advocacy Advisory Council. In 2005, he was selected to be a prestigious John P. Hartford Geriatric Social Work Scholar. Dr. DeCoster also serves as a commissioned officer in the United States Army Reserve Medical Service and commanded a combat stress team in Baghdad during the surge in 2006-07. Until recently, Dr. DeCoster was a tenured associate professor in the J. William Fulbright College of Arts and Sciences School of Social Work. This past September, he accepted a position with the Veterans Administration Readjustment Counseling Service to serve as the team leader for the Fayetteville Veterans Center. Dr. DeCoster, would you please come to the podium?
Thank you, sir. General Wofford, Mr. Westmoreland, Chancellor Gerhardt, honored guests, fellow veterans. You know that General Wofford and I are active Army because we can't do anything without a PowerPoint. So you notice, the Army folks, and it's true, we can't go to the bathroom without having a safety brief and a PowerPoint presentation. So, plus you got me as a professor, so, we got to put it up on the screen. It's an honor for me to take some time this afternoon to talk to you about our vets, and in particular, to really recognize and salute our new vets, to recognize the service that they've provided and the sacrifices that they and their families make so they can go downrange. We've been a nation at war for some time, and it's easy to grow tired of war. Without an active duty base in northwest Arkansas, our military personnel can be invisible. They only appear in uniform once a month or not at all because they've finished their commitment and have started civilian lives. Again, seemingly invisible in our communities, as can be the challenges that they face when they come home. Living in a war zone for 12 months is like living in a snow globe. That's probably been the best description that I've heard. You never know when your world is going to be shaken up. And it can be those simple things that rattle you apart when you're downrange. It can be losing a phone call back home, the internet going down, or the monotony of daily life on a fob. Your life in combat can also be shaken by mortar attacks while sleeping in a tin trailer. A wife getting tired of being a single parent and threatening divorce. Or the loss of a battle buddy from an IED attack on your convoy. These challenges are shared by your Army family downrange. But coming home, leaving service, they're shared by those that you live with. When I returned from Iraq in 2007, I was home, but I really wasn't completely home. And General Wofford was kind of hinting at that normal process that happens to everyone that's been downrange. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it becomes post-traumatic stress, but there is a normal process to really getting your mental boots back on the ground. The rule of thumb that we tell folks in Army medicine and at the Vet Center in the VA is for every month of deployment, give yourself a month of readjustment. It took me about 18 months. I was downrange about 16, but it was a pretty awful downrange. And all my colleagues, because we all call each other and go, hey, what's going on with you? And sharing symptoms, basically. And that's pretty consistent, as it takes 12 to 18 months. And really, it's time for you to process that experience, to mentally get back into Arkansas. It's really common to feel agitated, irritable, frustrated, sometimes overwhelmed by civilian life, because at least downrange, we're mission-focused. Everything's about the mission, and a lot of other things are already decided for us. Sometimes it leads to a desire to just get away. I didn't understand how a lot of Vietnam vets wanted to go live in the woods. When I got back, I understood that completely. And it's a delayed reaction from events overseas. It's the same. You have the same experience if you're almost in a car accident, almost. And it's not until a few miles later or when you get back home that you get the shakes or you realized how close to harm you came. Well, the same thing happens when a warrior returns from combat. You know, when we're there, we suck it up, we drive on for 12 months, sometimes 15 months or longer, and often don't deal with the things that we're facing until we return. Many times, it's after being home a few weeks or months that we have that crazy thought. And those of you that have been downrange know what I'm talking about. You want to go back. You can't handle being back home. I know. I was there. I was like, man, I got to mow. I got to go back. I can't handle being here. And luckily, I knew enough in my head that moment will pass, and it does. You get through it. But I know folks that haven't. But again, it's in Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever you've been, things seem simpler. Can you imagine, when you're there, you want to get back here so bad, and you get here and you want to go back. Now, can you imagine what that feels like to a family to hear someone say that? Someone that they prayed for and invested a lot of emotional energy, willing them to come back in one piece, and for them to say, I want to leave you and go back into harm's way. It can be devastating for some. And doing all the couples therapy at the VA, I hear of that trauma that occurs when it's said. So families, too, live in this snow globe, waiting for things to get shaken up, waiting for your world to be rattled apart. And oftentimes, it's not what happens, what could happen. So they've had that 12 months or more of living day to day of what ifs. He didn't call today. What's going on? He's not on Yahoo Chat. What's happening? Or when you hear about a death overseas and you start thinking, could it have been my loved one? That's everyone's snow globe. When they come back, needs calming. It needs settling. And that's why at the VA, and in particular the Vet Center, we take care of everyone. Everyone. As long as you served in a combat theater or you're a GWAT, it's totally free. You need a DD-214. All the military folks know exactly. They probably got multiple copies. You bring that in. We treat individuals, couples, families, spouses. We have evening hours. Again, it's to address and to reach out. We make home visits. We go to other places. We go out in the community. Again, trying to help everyone calm those snow globes. But it really takes a village. It really takes everyone to be involved. Employers, church communities. We've been working with law enforcement agencies. But sometimes, because that's how we'd see them downrange. That's how soldiers would come to see this, is they'd get an Article 15, which is like, you've been bad and it's a little punishment, or a little ECMJ, and their next visit is to combat stress. And unfortunately, that happens here too. Law enforcement gets involved. So we've been working with them. Other healthcare providers, and now colleges like the university, NWAC, the University of Arkansas Fort Smith, are all reaching out to veterans because everyone has a role to help vets and families adjust. And one of the most important things that we can do is to build on their strengths, to enhance their resilience, to remind them that they have the capacity to make the transition back to civilian life because they've been through worse. We need to remind them of that spirit and motivation that got them through the years of service, the months of living in a combat zone. Vets have a remarkable talent for seeing the lighter side of life, of making lemonade from lemons. In theater, I was always motivated when I was just being out with the Joes, by being around their motivation, their energy, their humor, their dedication to mission, and their incredible commitment to each other. That's how I stayed sane. And when I got back to Arkansas, I didn't have my Army family. I didn't have my enlisted folks. I didn't have my NCOIC to keep me straight. And it was difficult. There's 3 stories I think exemplify this trait, these positive attributes that I wanted to share with you. Soldiers that I had worked with them or their teams when I was in Iraq. The first is a 20-year-old female MP, a driver and a gunner with the 759th MP Task Force. They were based in southeast Baghdad out of my FOB Rustamaya. Her company but worked at a small COB, which is a combat operation post, alongside an Iraqi Army brigade. She was dedicated. She pulled her weight. She did her job. She never complained and never missed a mission. In the last 4 months of her 15-month deployment, she was affected by Bell's palsy, which is a neurological disease paralyzing facial nerves. Usually one eye is affected. You can't close it. It dries up. There's significant risk of corneal damage, incredibly severe headaches that are very painful, and often results in permanent facial damage and an appearance as if someone has suffered a stroke. I believe Craig Cannon has Bell's palsy. With timely treatment, though, that damage is minimized. But in theater, there was no timely treatment. And the other part is she was refusing to leave. She didn't want to go. It took her task force commander, who by coincidence had suffered from Bell's palsy himself, ordering her back to Longstool for care. Just an amazing soldier, because the reason they saw us, they thought, well, maybe there's something in her head. And I'm like, no, there's not. A very significant. And now she's going to be permanently disfigured, 20 years old, an attractive young woman, because she wanted to stay there with her battles. She didn't want to let her fellow MPs down. The second soldier that I want to tell you about is a 20-year-old Army medic with the 3rd Cavalry, 61st Regiment, 2nd ID from Fort Carson. He had saved countless lives, putting himself into harm's way without regard for his own safety, which is a pretty common trait with most medics and corpsmen. But one event sort of stands out. At times, attacks by the enemy in Iraq in particular destroy a Humvee or more, and in an urban fighting environment, you can't get an air evac. And a lot of times you're waiting for QRF to show up, which is a quick reaction force, and they're not going to get there and you have to get out. And so in this one case, they had one person who was litter bound. And if you've ever seen a Humvee with everybody battled up, there's no way you're getting a litter in there. So they strapped it to the front of the hood and they took off with a medic treating the patient. He was on the hood with the guy going through the Mahalas, which is the neighborhoods in Iraq. He fell off twice. Had a few bruises but no serious injuries. His platoon sergeant said, that he probably hit his head, so that's why he wasn't seriously hurt, because he was a pretty hard-headed medic. What brought him in to see me is he was having tactile hallucinations. He had been pushing it so hard that he began feeling the wounds that he had cared for. And the one in particular that was really driving him nuts, no pun intended, he went to pat down one of the patients and got to the knee, and the knee collapsed. And he just said he kept feeling it. He was driving on, mentally was fine, but he was feeling it. His body was telling him it was time to slow down, but his willpower was saying he wasn't. And he just asked, said, "Doc, just make him stop. Just make him stop." So we did. We saw him for a few times, and we made him stop. He continued on mission, and he redeployed with his unit in about 2 months. The last soldier I want to tell you about is Private First Class Ross McGinnis. I had been to his small cop site like a week before this event that I'm going to read to you, and we were just doing some common combat stress stuff with him and some training, and then I came out for this other unfortunate incident. But I'm going to read from the citation that I sat with his captain and helped him write. Private First Class Ross McGinnis distinguished himself by acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty while serving as a .50 caliber machine gunner, 1st Platoon, Charlie Company, 1st Battalion of the 26th Infantry Regiment, in connection with combat operations against an armed enemy in Adamiyah, northeast Baghdad, on December 4th, 2006. That afternoon, his platoon was conducting combat control operations in an effort to reduce and control sectarian violence in the area. While Private McGinnis was manning the .50 caliber machine gun, a fragmentation grenade was thrown by an insurgent, fell through the gunner's hatch and into the vehicle. Reacting quickly, he yelled "grenade," allowing all 4 members of his crew to prepare for the grenade's blast. Then, rather than leaping from the gunner's hatch to safety, Private McGinnis made the courageous decision to protect his crew. In a selfless act of bravery in which he was mortally wounded, Private McGinnis covered the live grenade, pinning it between his body and the vehicle. and absorbing most of the explosion. Just an amazing person. His team were just overwhelmed that he would do that, because it would have been fairly easy for him to get out of the hatch. It was before they were covering the hatches with those, the insurgents were throwing rocks, bottles, grenades, trying to get him into the gunner's hatch, and we began to cover him up. Well, his hadn't been covered yet, which was very challenging for his NCO, because his NCO has a lot of guilt now. He said his was the second to last vehicle we were going to cover. He was only 19. They're amazing people. And I'm sure General Wofford and those of you out there would agree that they are examples of the many. There are many amazing people. There are many amazing veterans that we have. And I'm most familiar with the new veterans, and I continue to be amazed at what they're doing. So it's an honor for us to serve them, to help them return, and helping them get their lives back, and helping them get their mental boots back on the ground. It's one of the reasons why I left academia, and I applaud the university for stepping up, for making a commitment to those that served, for helping these vets trade boots for books and retool for civilian careers. And I really think we can expect great things from these new veterans. And I think the university is setting the standard in helping students and veterans. But I challenge Chancellor Gerhardt and the faculty and staff here to keep up the pace, and in particular, to not leave anyone behind. Thank you.